We need to deal with the root of this evil rather than the fruit of this evil. And we need to ask ourselves some tough questions.
Your vote isn't just affecting you. Your kids' kids are coming. They are going to have to deal with what we choose today.
Start praying to God for wisdom, praying to God for ways that people can start to open their eyes to really the truth that's taking place around them, because this is such a critical moment in history.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Revelation in the News. I'm your host, Zach Drew.
I'm Sasha Vols.
And I'm Taylor Schlobaum.
We want to be one of your homes for alternative news. There's lots of things happening in the news this week, and we just want to jump right into it. The first thing on the list is the internet. Listen. This happens this week. It's on the floor of Congress, and they're going to vote on the final vestiges of the internet, the naming and addressing system that it can literally control, basically, they can censor the internet. If we give this system that's currently under American control to the United Nations, then you can kiss free expression and free speech in general away. Okay, this happens right now this week, and I want to jump right to it, and I want to say, call your congressman. Call your congressman and let him know what you think about this issue, okay? Call him right now, today. And also go to aclj.org, and click the link that says Deadline Looms to Stop Obama and sign the petition. Sign the petition, sign it now. This isn't, you gotta understand, this isn't an issue that's going to take place sometime in the future. And this isn't some hypothetical situation. This is a real thing, and it's happening right now. And based on what the Congress decides to do, it's going to change what you and I can say on the internet. It's going to be putting in control people like Russia, China, Turkey. They're going to be the ones, the United Nations, they're going to be the ones that control what you can and can't do on the internet. And you might not feel the effects of this tomorrow. You might not feel the effects of this next week or next month. But I can promise you, mark my words, there's a day coming where you will feel the effects of this decision that's happening this week.
And like you said, everyone is affected by the internet. Everyone uses it. And if you ever asked yourself, what can I do for my country? What can I do for my personal rights? Zach is completely correct, and this will affect all of us. Maybe not at first. We need to make the stand. You have to at least say, I did something to help prevent this. Sign the petition, get involved. This is the time, and like you said, like Zach said, we need to get involved immediately.
I have right here the Constitution. The Constitution. Within this is, the Bill of Rights. Do you think that if this goes through and this portion of the internet is given unto the United Nations, do you think that China cares about your rights? Communist China, do you think that they are going to say, well, the Americans have freedom of speech? Do you think communist Russia is going to care about your rights, about the American Constitution? Absolutely not. And you see, the UN, if this goes through, the UN can override Congress. They will determine what we can and can't. They will determine the censorship of the internet. And they will override American sovereignty. And I just want to say this right now. If you're watching this program and the decision has already been made, and you did nothing. Actually, I want to say this. If you knew what was taking place, because we're judged for what we know, not what we don't know. If you knew what was taking place and what was in the balance for the internet, and you chose to do nothing, then shame on you. Shame on you. The only way that this republic is going to survive on how America was built to function, the only way it can survive is every American doing their part. Doing their part. And if you're not doing your part and you're not getting to the ballot boxes and you're not voting, then we're not going to see America 10 years down the road. And it comes down to, this is a republic. We vote on these things. The course of this country is determined by your vote. And if you knew that this was taking place and you didn't contact your congressman and you didn't sign petitions to let your voice be heard, then shame on you. And like I said, one day whenever we're feeling the effects on this, well, it's going to be partly your fault if you didn't get involved. Because to sustain this country, it takes every American doing their part.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so simple. Make sure that you go to aclj.org and then click on Deadline Looms to stop Obama and sign the petition, because right now is really the last chance we have to really step out, make our voice heard, and show in numbers that we are behind making our America, our nation, keeping our internet, keeping our share of the internet, and making sure that this doesn't go to the UN.
Yeah, and I just hope it's not too late. I hope it's not too late. And I hope that you didn't know what was taking place and you not doing anything. If you didn't know, like I said, you need to get more involved, but it's not, you are judged for what you know, not what you don't know. And even someone recently made the argument, well, if they give this away to the United Nations, Zach, it's not that big of a deal. It's the same people that are managing it now are going to be the same people that are managing it once it's transferred. Okay, so that's great. The people at the bottom of the totem pole that are managing it right now are going to be managing it after the transfer to the United Nations. Okay, it doesn't make a lick of difference. The bosses have changed. The authority figures have changed. Your boss goes from the United States government to the evil, socialistic, Sharia-compliant United Nations. They're the ones. It's like saying, well, I'm still doing my same thing. I used to like my boss, but I'm still doing my same thing, but now Hitler is my boss. And you have to go by what your boss's orders are. And if you're trying to change it up on the lower end of the totem pole of censorship of what you've been doing prior, and the United Nations says, no, you no longer can do that, and you say, well, that's what you're telling me to do, I don't agree with. What about free speech? It's out the window. The United Nations can now override Congress. We have lost our national sovereignty in this issue if it goes to the United Nations. And it is an irreversible effect. I have an article here from Breitbart. Frank Gaffney on Obama's attempt to slip irreversible internet surrender under the radar. First of all, that was the initial attempt. He was actually trying to get this passed without any congressional approval, which is 100% solely against our Constitution. But once again, our current administration, the federal government, has darn near abandoned the Constitution already. Because here's the thing. He was trying to do this already under the radar without any approval from Congress. Yeah. And to give away government property, it's in our Constitution. To give away government property, it has to be approved by Congress. Well, now many people are, shouting from the mountaintops, and there's a vote that's being taken place right now. But Frank Gaffney on Obama's attempt to slip irreversible internet surrender under the radar. We've got just a few days to fix this. In the article, it says 3 days. 3 days to fix this. The Center for Security Policy president and founder Frank Gaffney joined Breitbart News Daily this week to offer his thoughts on the first presidential debate and a vitally important topic that was not addressed: the impending surrender of the U.S. control of internet registration. It says in the article, the conversation turned to the impending handover of internet control to a foreign body, a topic that should be of major concern of American voters. Although Marlowe sarcastically observed there was no time for it during the debate because moderator Lester Holt thought it was more important to discuss Donald Trump's thoughts on Barack Obama's birth certificate. Ridiculous. Man, it made me so angry to watch that debate. What they are preparing to do is to cede or surrender the last portion of control of American control or even influence over what is done with critical functions of the internet. And if you think that freedom of the internet, whether it's the ability of people to communicate freely information on it, or whether you think of it as an engine for free enterprise, let alone if you understand the contribution that it makes these days to national security, including, by the way, the operations of our critical infrastructure, like our power grid, you will understand that the United States retaining a measure of quality control as to what's going on with how the internet is populated with names and numbers, domains and websites, and the like. It is a very, very, very important thing. And listen, the final verdict of this is, which I don't understand, if it's not broken, then don't fix it. Ever since America has created the internet, and ever since we have been in control of this portion of the internet, it's been completely under our government control. It has worked perfectly with no hiccups. And now we're giving it away to the United Nations. It just makes absolutely no sense. And remember, once this goes through, the UN will override our own country's sovereignty whenever they decide what can and can't go on the internet.
Well, I even have an article here that even the FCC Commissioner on the Internet Oversight talking about how this is going to threaten our rights, how this is going to affect our freedoms. On the this week on the Sean Hannity show, they say that the FCC Commissioner stated the plan was to essentially give up the U.S. oversight rule of the internet to ICANN. It is something that should worry anyone who cherishes free expression and free speech rights generally. It could potentially cede oversight of the internet to foreign governments who might not share our values. And like Zach is saying, those same managers who are here right now are going to be the same managers there, but with new authority. They have to listen to new authority, and they are warning of this right now.
Amen. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor. Well, we only have a 30-minute show, so we're going to move on to some other important news. I know you have a pretty shocking story, Sasha, that took place just this week.
Yes, I do. And it says Alabama Chief Justice stands trial for blocking same-sex marriage. It says Alabama's Court of Judiciary tried Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore on Wednesday for violating ethics when he ordered state judges not to issue same-sex marriage licenses. If the court finds Moore liable, it could remove him from the Supreme Court for the second time in his career. It says Moore stands accused of ordering the Alabama probate judges to defy a federal injunction in violation of his ethical duties as an Alabama top judge. Right now, we're looking at somebody who is being persecuted for their own beliefs, for the beliefs that they believe in, that they're standing up for the ethics of their state. They're saying that this is the belief of the state. This is what we know is right. This is what we know is true. And this is what we're defending. Yet, they're seeing persecution for it.
That's right. And yeah, and so first of all, I applaud Judge Moore for, being a Bonhoeffer in these days and going against what's popular and what's mainstream and what goes against, not only our Constitution, but goes against our biblical worldview. So I applaud you. But yeah, so he was tried. He was tried this week for violating ethics. And the Judicial Commission, they're set to rule on the Judge Moore's case within this next 10 days. And if he is found guilty for this, he'll be removed from the state Supreme Court in Alabama. He'll be removed. He'll be done. So we need to be praying for this situation. We need to be praying for Judge Moore right now. And that brings me to actually another similar type of story, just talking about this issue. This is from Fox News. It says Ohio judge orders girls' bathroom access for a transgendered student. Now, this is from Columbus, Ohio, and the story reads like this. It says a federal judge rejected a school district's challenge to President Barack Obama's rule on transgender bathrooms on Monday, ordering a biologically male student who identifies as a female to be treated like, quote, the girl she is. Now, the judge said that the Highland local schools in Monroe County had failed to provide a persuasive argument that giving the student access to the girls' restroom would jeopardize other students' privacy or safety, saying, listen, I don't see how this guy going into the girls' restroom, you haven't provided a strong enough case to describe how it would violate other people's privacy. Madness, Deuteronomy 28, madness, okay, that's insanity, that's craziness has come upon our land. This is ridiculous. He further ordered the Highland to use a female name and pronouns in referring to the 11-year-old. Joseph Wiseman, an attorney for the student, says in a statement that the court has taken an important step in protecting the student's rights. Now, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Look, so they're taking a vital step in protecting the students' rights, but they're not. What about the rights of the 99.9% of all the other students within that? It's like, well, we need to make sure that this one student doesn't feel uncomfortable. What about all the other girls in the locker room? All the other girls in the girls' showers that are going to feel uncomfortable. Once again, madness has come upon the land, and that is a sign of judgment for the country that once knew God and followed his ways and his commandments. If they turn away from God, one of those signs is that madness, craziness, insanity comes upon the land.
And Franklin Graham would agree with you. He actually is here saying there's a concern. He says, what about the rights of all the other students who want their privacy and don't want students of the opposite sex in the restrooms, locker rooms, and showers with them? What about the sexual predators who take advantage of the bad policies like this? He goes on to say that it's time for the church to recognize this. We better wake up, and we better stand up against them while we still can. This is just another example of why who you vote for in the presidential election is so critical. The next president of the United States will appoint well over 100 powerful federal judges during their term.
And it even says the liberal judge in Ohio, with this whole case is centering around, the liberal judge in Ohio, he was appointed by Bill Clinton in 1997. And the rulings of these federal judges impact each and every one of us on a daily basis. And they affect the direction of our nation. It just shows you how important this next election is. And like you said, Taylor, the next president will appoint over 100 of these powerful federal judges, the same kind that ruled in Ohio this last week. And once again, the federal courts, this is tyranny, because the federal courts, they do not have the power to even do this. The federal courts do not have the power to make a ruling like this. This once again overrides our state sovereignty. That only few enumerated rights, the Constitution says, only few enumerated rights are given to the federal government. And any other ruling or any other cases other than that is reserved solely for the states. Wow.
Well, that's why it's so important right now that we have to raise our voices in these issues. We have to make sure that we know that these are the times that we're living in. This is what's happening right in front of our eyes, is that they're allowing these types of things to happen. And if we don't speak up and say, you don't have the right to make that decision, then we're just allowing it to happen right in front of us.
Yeah.
But in other news, I do have another story, and right now it's really interesting, but Obama blames Hillary's poor and decreasing poll numbers on sexism. Let's just talk about that, but before we do, I have an article from Rick Joyner who says, he just blatantly, or he puts it out as—
he says it like it is.
He puts it out as, Obama blames Hillary's problems on sexism. Really? I think they are due to problems such as serious crimes that put our nation's security at risk. Why do 5 of her staffers need immunity if they are not guilty? Why do they take the 5th if they're not guilty? It's not sexism, it's crime. Corruption, it's offering influence in the U.S. State Department, it's special contracts for donations to her foundation that equates to selling the assets that belong to the people of the United States. Those are problems that we are having with her. It is not sexism, just as Obama is stating that they are.
Wow. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And in the same way that Obama's problems were not racism, it's only the most shallow or truly racist that have even claimed that, Rick Joyner has said. And just to think, it has nothing to do with the 33,000 emails that she deleted, the phones that had on record that she had absolutely destroyed. This classified information that she has given out, all these the absolute corruptness, the lies. Oh, but no, that has nothing to do with her problems. That has nothing to do with her recent poll numbers dropping. It's sexism. That's what it is. It's sexism.
Well, it's focused. Look what this is. It's refocusing everything back onto, it must be sexism. Why do you think we are so ignorant as a nation right now? Do you think that we have stepped back into thinking that women can't do anything? No, we have moved forward. We are in a generation that believes in women. But right now, to say that we believe that, or that you believe that the poll numbers for Hillary are low because of sexism, That makes no sense. It really just shows that the ignorance and blindness to these real issues. When somebody doesn't remember that C means classified on 30,000 emails, that they delete them just because, for no reason, because I didn't think about it. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. That's a huge deal. And if the fact that nobody's talking about that, or that you refuse, Miss Hillary Clinton, to talk about it, that's a huge deal.
And to think that she could actually be the next president of the United States. And to think, what does it say about Americans? We know that she's corrupt. Her followers know that she's corrupt. They know that she's a liar. They've talked about this. Oh, let's just ignore it. That's a thing of the past now. They know that according to our own laws in America, she should be in prison. They know all this, but they don't care. They don't care. What does that say about half of the country that is going to be voting for her in just a matter of a few weeks? And just to think that even they even have the FBI in their pockets. I mean, she basically got an absolute get out of jail free card. According to our own laws, you should be in prison, but they didn't.
People go to prison and are stripped of their rights for less in this nation. Yet you're walking and you're still running for president right now. That's the most amazing and shocking thing of it all. But it just shows right now we have to, as the American voters, we have to look at the issues, not just social issues, because I know a lot of people get caught up in those, but what are the issues of our nation? What are we facing? Are we facing terrorism? Is terrorism a real threat? Yes, it is. Do we need to protect our borders? Yes, we do. Do we need to think on a bigger scale than just social issues? Yes, we do. So at the end of the day, we need to look past those things and start to realize what the real issues are and who are we actually electing into office. Just look outside of the social issues that the media keeps throwing at us to keep getting involved in, because they know that social issues get people mad and they make them offended against a person. So we're seeing that all over the news right now with Trump, and they bring up all these social issues. But look at it beyond the social issues and look at it, who are you electing? What is this person actually going to do for our nation?
Right.
Yeah, and talking about Hillary Clinton and the FBI, you quoted Rick Joyner earlier, and he actually said something that I'd like to quote him again, because I thought he put it perfectly, talking about the FBI, and this is what he said verbatim. He said, "The FBI has spent generations building a reputation for being the untouchables, unable to be bribed, corrupted, or even politically manipulated. Well, now it's going to likely take generations to rebuild that reputation after its shocking failures with the Clinton email scandal. The FBI has been more than just the gold standard of law enforcement. It was the linchpin that held together our national devotion to law and order." And Director Comey's testimony before Congress this week was shocking, revealing a level of either incompetence or corruption, or both, that is incomprehensible. The more the director talked, the worse it got. And certainly there are many competent agents and leaders in the FBI, but with the top being so tarnished and the reputation of the entire agency, now all of their jobs will no doubt be more difficult. Washington is not just dysfunctional, but it is corrupted far beyond what we could have even imagined. And we must have a change. But we need more than just a change. We need a new American revolution to restore what was gained by the first and sustained at such a high price by so many sins. And I pray that it can happen at the ballot box. But if we don't change the direction, we are going to end up where we are headed. Think about that. If we don't change our direction, we are going to end up where we are heading. And that will be over a cliff. Over a cliff. And so once again, I want to encourage, this is the most important election since the Civil War. And Franklin Graham recently has put out this magazine talking about the issues, the platforms, the planks of each candidate. And we have two completely different candidates with two completely different visions for America. They will ultimately be two completely Americas based on who we elect in this next coming election. We only have a couple more minutes left of today's show. What else do we have in the news, Taylor?
Happening right now, actually, I have a headline here that says, solar storm heading towards Earth threatening to break your Sky TV and mobile phones. They go on to say that a huge solar storm is heading towards Earth, that the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says a coronal hole has opened up the sun, leading to a stream of solar particles hurling towards the Earth. And now, this is going to affect your cell phones if this comes to us, or actually when it comes to us. This is going to affect our satellites. Whether it be an EMP, someone pulling the trigger, or a natural cause, this is just another article saying this is what's going to happen, and you have to be prepared. You have to start thinking about things, start researching, because either way, something is going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of people do believe that, for example, like we talk about the effects of EMP, which would, be a nation that would, detonate a bomb above our, a couple hundred miles above our land, and it would take out the power grid in a certain location, a certain country, a certain, it's restricted. It couldn't happen to the whole world. There's not a bomb big enough.
Yeah.
But a solar flare, if it is large enough, and while the Earth is spinning, and the solar flare coming for an extended portion of time, it could literally affect the entire world. And there are many experts on the subject that actually say that it's not a matter of if this will happen, it's a matter of when this will happen. We only have one more minute left, and we don't have time to go into this article. But I really, really want to encourage you to go to Charisma News website. And you need to type in the search engine on Charisma News, Jim Garlow, or you could type in this. It's an article, and it's called, "If You're on the Fence About Your Vote, This Pastor Clarifies How the Very Future of America is at Stake." Go and type in any of those words in their search engine and read that article by Jim Garlow. It is by far the best article, and I believe that it's been shared over right around 2 million times just from Charisma News' website. That means possibly 20, 30, 40 million people have read this singular article. And I wouldn't be surprised if this singular article has changed the course of where this election was heading. It's a fantastic article. You need to read it.
Right.
Well, this has been Revelation in the News. We'll see you next week.